This is the Knipex 0821145 needle nose combination pliers. And that's a mouthful, but if you're looking for a pair of everyday carry pliers, they're a fantastic option. Let's go through the different functions from top to bottom of these pliers. To start with, you have the main gripping area. You have really nice fine teeth on both sides. They don't actually fully touch, you can see here, though if you really want to try to get them to, you can squeeze really hard and they will. The reason they don't touch is because they give priority to the cutters to connect first, just like a lineman's plier. You also notice that in the main cutting area, there's that little notch right there. They call it a milled groove, and we'll get into that in just a second. But first, let's talk about the main gripping area because it is designed very special. If you notice, right here is flat, and if you look on the other side, it actually curves in over here. So there's actually no connection right there. And they do that because if I were to take a flat bar and put it in there, it will make it so that it's actually really secure. You'll notice here that this whole side is connecting, and then right there is connecting as well. And if I go up to different sized thicknesses, it actually works the entire time. You can see here, I am putting leverage on there and I can move it, but it's actually really tough. Okay? And again, if we do an even thicker piece of metal here, you can see that when I stick it in there, we have a flat, almost full connection on this side, and then right there, because it curves, it connects one there. So there's like, it says there's 3 points of contact, and it feels really good. Like there's even more leverage there, so I can definitely still move it, but it's tough to move. Like it has a really good connection. You can see here on the main gripping part, there is that small little hole. That is a milled groove. That is what they call that. And it's for holding nails or other round stock. So I have two different size nails here. We'll start with the smaller one. When we put that in there, that works. It feels good. It holds it pretty securely. And if I were to tap that with a hammer, I could still go through and I wouldn't hurt a finger. Another great thing about this milled groove is if you're working on small round pieces of metal at all, doing any kind of fine intricate work, having that there allows you to have a good strong hold on that so you can Dremel or cut or do whatever you need to do. And then when you take it out, there will be theoretically no marks on that piece of metal. So next up we have the curved jaw section. And the curved jaw section is just like any other kind of combination pliers. So this is what I would consider a larger nut and bolt for it. This can work in a pinch, but your hand is super far apart. So I would say it's only really super usable for maybe quarter 20 or below. Finally, we have the cutters. Now, they're saying that it's using a high leverage joint, and if you look below there, you can see that the joint is very close to the cutters. So if you want to cut something really hard and you put it right towards the end, it's apparently going to be able to cut it. Now, they show this thing cutting some sizable bolts. Okay, so first thing first, here is some small telephone wire, and I'm just going to use the upper ends here, and it cuts them no problem. So, and actually it feels really good. These are really nice cutters. So this will cut soft wires pretty well. Next up, we have some galvanized steel. This is 18 gauge, and we're just gonna do some small cutting here. I'm going to put it right at the very bottom to utilize that high leverage, and this is cutting it like I'm even doing it right at the very tip. It cuts it like butter, no problem. In fact, I would say these cut better than some of the really bigger pliers that I have that cut. And finally, we have some 14 gauge galvanized steel. They're going to start, first of all, right at the tip there. Oh, and you know what? That feels really good. It requires barely any force right there. No problem. And it's not hurting the cutters at all. This is good stuff. Let's test it right at the tip there. Oh, it requires a lot more force and strength, but you can see here, I am taking the coating off there, but it doesn't seem to be hurting that edge whatsoever. It still looks and feels just as sharp. Here is a banana force scale. Please subscribe. Guess what? I wrote a children's book called Who Says Pooh? It's a funny, read-aloud children's book about words in different languages that sound phonetically like the English word poo. Buying a book today helps support my channel. And also, you'd brighten up my day a whole bunch. Link is in the description. Now back to the video. Okay, so let's compare it to some other pliers. Now, I want to start with needle nose pliers that are similar in size. So here are my tiny little needle nose pliers. You can see these guys have seen better days. You can see here that I've ground on them and everything like that, but they still function and work really well for the tiny needle nose pliers that they are for when I need that. You can also see that the edges, the tips, this one obviously is more fine. That's one thing that I will say about these Knipex needle nose combination pliers is that the tips are a little bit thicker and a little bit more stout, a little bit more shorter than I would expect of something with the needle nose name. And I'll get to that in just a second by my next comparison. Now obviously these are much bigger needle nose pliers. They're much more heavy duty needle nose pliers. And you can see that they do connect at the tip, unlike these ones, and they have great action. I like them. You can see that I have loved these pliers quite a bit. I've used them quite a bit. A lot of work I do, I often need needle nose pliers, so I've used these a lot. But you can see when you look at the tips, if you can see that, obviously these ones are bigger, but they're not tremendously that much bigger in terms of width. Yeah. And now finally, I'm going to do a very weird comparison. This is my Leatherman Surge, and I have the Generation 1 Leatherman Surge plier head on it because it's a really nice needle nose. The cutters aren't the best on the Gen 1, but I think it has a far superior needle nose head. And when I compare the two tips, you'll see, if I can get it, and when I compare the two tips, you will see that the Surge actually has tinier tips. And that's what I would prefer, because that way this can get into smaller spaces and deal with certain types of retaining rings much easier than these ones can. Okay? And I think that's a very interesting little thing to note, is that how stubby and short the needle nose portion of these are. I mentioned that these are everyday carry pliers, and I want to compare them to another staple of the everyday carry world, which is the Knipex Cobras. These are the 150s. I also have the 125s, but I'm going to do the 150s since these are 145s. These are 150s. Overall, I'm not sure which one I would consider the better everyday carry plier. The Cobra can definitely hold much larger items, okay? But it can't cut like the needle nose pliers can. In fact, it has no cutters. That being said, the needle nose pliers, these can definitely reach into tighter spaces than this head can, and it can reach into tighter spaces than the 125s can. You can see here with the tips. Which, as I've said, reaching into tighter spaces is what I find myself needing the majority of the time when I need pliers and I'm out and about. But because these don't connect, if I were to hold a paper, here's just a Home Depot receipt. If I were to use this without putting any kind of force, I can just, so you can even see here, I can just go and it doesn't grip it very strongly. Unless I want to really wrench down with all my strength, then I can get it to grip tight. Whereas with these guys, I can grip fine objects, thin pieces of metal, no problem without it slipping off. I don't have to put much force. Like this is almost no force and I can't get that out. So this will grip thinner objects than this one much easier. I think though together, they're a wonderful pairing. And I think if you're considering one, you should definitely consider the other depending on the type of work you do. Now, if you're interested in other pliers that are cool maybe for everyday carry, especially if you work in an electrical field, check out the review I did on these small vintage electrical pliers. Thanks for watching.